Hey everyone, Envy here and welcome to my first in this series of 10 hours in 10 minutes, where I play a game for 10 hours and review it in under 10 minutes. I do this because, according to scientific studies performed by high academic universities such as Trust Me Bro, the average gamer will play a game for approximately 30 minutes before they decide if they're going to commit to it or not. So how does that make sense to my video series? Well, it doesn't, but we're here anyway, so let's get into it. The Bloodline is an open-world fantasy action RPG developed by the solo talent, that's right, solo talent, Miles of Shieldbearer Studios and published by Hook. The game is currently in early access, which was made available on Steam to purchase October 5th, 2023, which I picked up recently during the Christmas 2024 Steam sale. As soon as I jumped in, my first thought was that the Bloodline is what would happen if RuneScape and Elder Scrolls came together, had that tight hug, and a baby came out called the Bloodline. According to the Steam database, as of the time of making this video, the game is sitting at an 80% review, scoring it a very positive. Most of the negative reviews stating that it's unpolished and buggy, but what do you expect for an early access game? So what is it all about? Well, in the Bloodline, you assume the role of a descendant of the Harbinger lineage, a bloodline endowed with the power of foresight by an ancient deity, tasked with safeguarding the land of Yudros from the malevolent Unforgiven. Alright ladies and gentlemen, saddle in because this is definitely the longest portion of the video. Firstly, the character customization has quite a variety. There's a decent amount to play with. Hair, facial hair, head size, eyebrows, skin color, body art, pelvis size, mid-torso, upper torso, arms, legs, and even voice. The only negative thing I can say is that for the voice, you have 3 male presets with only 1 female option. Once you're loaded in, you'll engage with a ton, and I mean a ton, of awesome, innovative mechanics, some of which I haven't come across and others are heavily inspired by other games. Let's see if you can figure which one's from which. We'll have to speed it up, otherwise this video would be called 10 hours and at least 120 minutes. At least. Probably. Yeah. So, when I loaded into the game, I decided to play around with the movement controls as you do. WASD to move, spacebar to jump, and shift to sprint. And straight away, a notification comes up with achievement earned. Run a total of 15 meters. And you'll notice that I got more than a decent amount of experience. I decided to keep sprinting in circles while the NPC judged me, and before you know it, I got the next achievement for sprinting 100 meters and got to level 2. I personally like this approach as it reminds me of the old school RuneScape elements of leveling up your various skills, minus the achievements of course, which would level you up overall. Next up, rune reading, which is essentially how to learn and skill up your magic. You get a book, sit down at a desk like a good little scholar you are, and start deciphering the runes, which gives you experience in the school of magic the book is about. In my case, I got a book about pyromancy, so fire magic. This is a mini game within the game, and we will come across this a few times because the Bloodline likes to make sure all aspects of the game is engaging with little bursts of dopamine. In this case, you have a timer on deciphering each letter. The faster you are at deciphering, the more experience you get in that magic and contributes towards your actual level experience. This is also something you'll notice when skilling up in the game. Talking about skilling up, look at all these passive skills you can get. Very RuneScape-esque again. Beside these passive skills, you have all these achievements which, as we discussed, gives you experience for your overall leveling. I still have so much to discover. But what did I mean about the dopamine when skilling up? Well, check out some of these gathering professions. Fishing. You need to pay attention and try to get it between the lines. Bonus experience if you get it on the green, and you get this very exciting critical on your screen too. And of course, the experience contributes towards both your fishing skill and your overall level. Mining. You can just let it happen without pressing any buttons, but where's the invigorating excitement if you don't land a blow perfectly in the green to get extra experience towards a skill and your overall level. And if you level your abilities, including passive skills, there are perks at level 5, 10, 15, etc., which gives you different benefits. So for mining, if you get it in the green and you have the specific perk, there's a chance you can get additional ore. The same goes for woodcutting. Woodcutting, you get it in the green, get bonus experience, level it up, get the perk, get more wood. Now this doesn't apply for foraging or herbalism for you World of Warcraft addicts, but the dopamine you get when those words bounce out and sparkle, the feel-good factor knowing that the extra experience is accumulating and leveling up more than just your overall level but also your passive levels and your skills too. Blacksmithing is a different minigame. This time you'll need to press the correlating directional keys to grade the tier of your weapon. The grade are your usual F, E, D, C, B, A, and S tiers. The higher the tier, the more experience you get, the better quality, and the more money it can fetch if you do decide to sell it. Taming is another minigame. Trap your animal, take control of it, run through the hearts before your patience runs out. Now, if you haven't got the picture yet, don't worry, just wait until we get to the later sections about building your towns in the innovation and originality section. We'll go into it a little bit more. But back to the mechanics. You still have your traditional questing, but instead of the exclamation mark to pick up the quest, it's a question mark. And yes, it's the other way around, exclamation mark when you hand it in. Seems backwards for the sake of being different, but let's just go with it. Doing more quests in a city builds a better relationship with that city, and you get perks like discounts from vendors. Do something bad like stealing, think Elder Scrolls, and you'll build a bad reputation. Okay, we're over halfway through the video and we're still in the mechanics, so let's continue to build up the speed and momentum. Grappling. No, not Muay Thai grappling, but more with a grapple hook. You throw some rope, you pull, you swing, it's all very cool. Oh yeah, you can of course scale up the walls by spamming the jump, which is part of the game. Don't worry about fall damage, cause there's wall running, like a ninja. And if you wield daggers, you can RP as an assassin. Combat's pretty fun too. In my gameplay, I decided to play a self-proclaimed battle mage. I ran around with a gigantic two-handed sword and used magic to strike my enemies down from range. That way, I have the best of both worlds, range damage as well as close combat melee. Combine this with your grapple hook and I'm just Tarzan if he could blast his enemies with fire and swing a massive two-handed sword. Mounts are also in the game too, although I only managed to unlock 2 mounts during my 10 hours. A donkey, which the game gives to you early on, and a magic broom, which I found out in the wild while questing. But unfortunately, the magic broom does drain away my mana faster than Twitter, sucking away my will to live. Thank you, Elon, for making the worst social media platform in existence. I say this as I advertise my content on Twitter. Make sure you follow me at envy_NZ. First on the list is the in-game calendar. Now, this is a feature I've only seen used in MMORPGs like World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, and Black Desert Online. I haven't seen it in a single-player RPG, and I love it. I only managed to get involved in one event because I got sidetracked with all the other things you can do in the game, but I did find that event enjoyable. In one of the early quests where you spawn into the game, you're given a task to inspect a notice board. This is the start of rebuilding the Harbinger city, which you can rename to whatever you want. I went with Olympus. You will then be asked to put down some fencing, followed by building your first structure, a bakery. This is the gateway to a whole lot of fun because there's quite a number of structures that you can build in the early access. What you choose to build and how you choose to decorate your city will attract specific types of crowds. For example, if you build a library and a mage tower, you'll attract scholars from all around the world. If you build a graveyard and a sacrificial altar, well, necromancers will flock over. This is an amazing feature and it runs quite deep, not necessarily to building your city, but also how it ties into the other things you do in the game. Because you see, you need materials to build structures, and some materials you can only get from specific parts of the world. Each structure has a different combination of materials. More on how all this connects later. Talking about world maps, look how massive this world is. It is huge. It is Brobdingnagian, some would say. As part of this world map, there's also the overworld feature, which is something I've never seen before in any game. I've seen a world map, I've traveled along a world map, but I've never seen dynamic spawning of points of interests, or enemies, or events. This ranges from woodcutting spots to being ambushed by goblin raiders, to friendly merchants selling you rare items, to defending caravans which are being attacked by bandits. Now, if you have seen this feature before in another game, please let me know in the comments below. The leveling animation is a feature that didn't need to be taken this far, but you know what? I love it. It's the small details that matter, and there are quite a few of them in this game, but the way that you let out a pulse wave into the world, the way your surround progressively turns into a sketch that someone just drew is just chef's kiss. Beautiful. It just looks like something that could have been etched onto a scroll with a quill. And apparently at some point in playing the Bloodline, I fell into another dimension and I found a vista from Guild Wars 2. Now, jokes aside, it is a cool feature. It gives you a nice tooltip about the area. I'm not sure what else it does, but if playing the game for 10 hours has taught me anything, it's probably going to give me an experience or work towards achievement at some point. Way to take inspiration from another game. Double thumbs up. Have you ever had the urge of joining a cult? I mean, to become a member of a congregation? That will rattle some of you. But if you do have the inkling... But if you do have an inkling, you could join the church as an exorcist. I feel like this might have been inspired by something that's not a game. Anyways, you go to graveyards, destroy any souls trying to return to the living world with arcane magic specifically, and work your way up the ranks. In the spirit of joining a system of devoted people, I also signed up to the Line's main guild, and became a mercenary. Apparently loyalty isn't a thing in this game. Essentially, you pick up contracts, kill things, and people pay you. Another inspired feature from... well, I'm sure you get the gist of it by now. After quelling the evil of the unforgiven from the world, the people have lived in peace for so long, they've forgotten about the Harbingers. But now, evil rises again. But the powers from Esros, the god, to you, have weakened. That's as far as I've gotten, so let's just say I don't want to spoil the game for you. Yeah, we'll go with that. The art style is RuneScape-esque, but first person. The graphics are not mind-boggling, but it's got a whimsical charm to it. The developer has definitely not let the polymodeling restrict his environment building or city creation. Check out some of these cities. They all seem to have their own theme. See if you can guess what they are. Personally, I don't need a game to be all futuristic, using the latest Unreal Engine with lifelike graphics. The game just needs to be good on a fundamental level. The idea, the mechanics, the feel, it all just needs to click. The graphics is the supplement for me, and in this case, it's definitely found its place, and it works. The game has some pretty decent soundtracks and sound effects to go with it. It really syncs well together, and to be honest, I've played games which has had less, which have been out for longer. So, well done. You may or may not have noticed the background music and ambience that's been playing throughout this video this whole time. It's actually extracts from the game. Pretty cool, right? See what I did there?
I hope there's a sale at the salty trout today.
So let's talk replayability by touching on some of the points I've already mentioned in the mechanics and innovation section. There is so much you can do in this game, and yet somehow it doesn't feel overwhelming, and I think I figured out why. In the game, you have overall experience, and you have your abilities experience as well as passive skills experience. So 3 different experience silos. The game ties all of these things really well together. I'll run you through an example. You want to make a stronger weapon. You go to the overworld, you start traveling, a rich mining spot appears, and you start mining for specific ore. Let's say copper. You start mining and you get that oh so beautiful injection of dopamine from the minigame. While you're doing that, you realize you need coal to make copper ingots. So you mine that and more dopamine. Then you walk past some stones and you mine that because why not? They're there, it gives you experience in both your overall and mining leveling, unlocking more perks and more dopamine. As you're going to your next mining node, you pass by a pine tree. You chop it down for experience and dopamine. Once you've cleared the area of gatherable materials, you go back to your city to make your weapon through the blacksmithing minigame, and done. A nice upgrade. You soon realize you have all these extra materials, but what do you do with them? Well, you can build up your city. However, now you need more materials, because you got some from upgrading your weapon, and you couldn't pick up others like oak, for example, because you weren't skilled up at that point. But now, after all that material gathering, you are skilled up enough to go back. So you go back to the overworld, you find a dynamic wood cutting spot, and you cut down some trees. While you're cutting down some trees, you find new ore that you couldn't mine before, which you're now skilled up to do, so you pick up new ore, and you clear that area, and you go back to your city, and you start building it up. Make it pretty with stone walls instead of flimsy picket fences. Oh, and now you realize you can build something else because you got the new materials which you couldn't before. Oh, and now you can make better weapons because of the new ore. You see, each things that you do isn't for the sole purpose of just one thing, but rather it's beneficial for a number of skills, which gives you direction, and direction takes away from the overwhelming sensation of an open world sandbox game. Well done, Miles, you cunning fox. For this part, I did run into a few bugs where mining or woodcutting could prevent my character from moving or doing any actions altogether. Creatures were bugged, like when I tried taming my bunny. I guess he just didn't love me back. Come on. No! I got a glitched bunny, dude. That's annoying. Now I've got no traps left. Can I pick it up? No, I can't pick it up. Damn it. Okay. Well, that's annoying. In cities, my FPS died. I tried to turn down the graphics from recommended system settings the game set for me, which was on max, and I dropped it all the way down to medium, but still, I was struggling. I don't have an Omega PC, but it's been upgrading the last 2 years, so I would like to think that it should be able to handle it. Not sure if anyone else has had this issue, but unfortunately, game performance and optimization is something that could use a little bit of love. Thankfully, the game has no microtransactions, and why would it, being an offline single RPG, and words from the dev according to their Reddit page is that there will never be a cash shop. Woohoo! The box price for the game is currently worth $28.95 New Zealand dollars, or £15.99 for you Brits across the pond. And of course, I can't forget about the Americans because you'll let me know anyways. The price is $19.99 US dollars. This is a one-off payment. There are no subs, etc. I got the game on sale when it was 50% off, and to be completely honest, that is a huge bargain for what's available in the early access. If you want to wait for another sale and get a lower price, go for it, but it's definitely worth your money. Not financial advice. Overall, the game has already more than a full game's worth of content, and it's in early access. The developer is still adding more to it, taking feedback from the community on his Discord. It's one guy, and honestly, Miles, you have absolutely crushed it. Yes, there's work to be done and things to hone or fix, but this game has huge potential in my opinion. It's going down the right track, and I can't wait to see what future updates behold. I mean, let's put it this way. The series is called 10 hours and 10 minutes, but let's just say I may have continued to play a little bit more after I finish recording. And that's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed my first game review in this series, 10 hours and 10 minutes. What did you think of the game? Will you be buying it anytime soon? If you already have it, did you have a similar experience to mine, or was it better or worse? Let me know in the comments below how you found the game, and if you have any feedback on how I can improve these videos, I'd love to hear it. Subscribe and like for the algorithm, Pythagoras, Alan Turing gods, and as always, take care and remember to be kind to each other.